So the question was, does he go and race it? And this was the conundrum. Does he race it because he's supremely bred and could crack it as a stallion from day one if he started his stallion duties there?
Like Northern Guest, unraced.
Does he go and race? And I must say I was in the former camp. I would say don't race it.
But he's too competitive a human being not to give up.
The fact that he's gone in and gone into racing is extremely exciting for the South African racing public.
I guess it makes you feel a little bit dated when you've seen Silvano run his last race in Hong Kong back in 2002, and of course Jetmaster, and this is, I think, probably the fourth or fifth generation of that particular mating with enormous success and a great heritage, and it must be a great honour and a great privilege and an exciting challenge for you to train a horse of this pedigree, and of course he doesn't know his price, but he wasn't cheap.
It certainly is, Andrew. We haven't treated him any different. He's very, very much in the mould of a Silvano, late maturing type. We haven't really put him under any pressure. He's just had good, healthy, routine exercise. He's actually pretty fit for the stage that he's at already. But he's very much a work in progress. He has every attribute. Got a good temperament. He can be a little bit coltish, but he's very manageable. Bottom line, he's still a gangly teenager though. He goes out, does his work, comes back, eats all his food and sleeps most of the day. So certainly going through a growing phase, maturing phase, and until he tells us he's ready to get pressed a little bit more, we'll just keep him going in the same mould.
Well, I think having said all that, you're very blessed in a way to have a man like Henning Pretorius as the owner, because I've done quite a bit of work for him this year, and his warm bloods are only getting auctioned at the age of 4 and 5. So he's a man that understands patience more than most.
Very much so. Well, first and foremost, it's a privilege for him to have entrusted me with this horse and his other 2 purchases from last year. And Henning has been sort of emphatic that we give the horse all the amount of time that he requires before he goes to the racecourse, which makes my task a hell of a lot easier, as you can imagine.
And of course, here's Summerveld, and just up the road, it's probably an hour and a bit to wherever he can go back and he can have that change of environment and return to the place that he was initially taken to after the national sale, which is good for the horse's mind.
Oh, 100%. He's actually already, he went a little bit shin sore, probably going back about 2 months. So he went straight back to Summerhill. He just carried on in light work while he was out for 3 weeks. Shin settled, he came back in. And you could already see the difference in him, just that 3 weeks out, getting the sun on his back every day, did him the world of good physically and mentally. The penny hasn't quite dropped yet, but action is there. And that's there at times, but that's what he's.
Well, you wouldn't expect anything less from a colt.
Expect that's his natural instinct. He's actually a beautiful rider on the track. He looks around a lot, and he's an evolving young man, but he moves well. He's still not quite focused enough, but that's on a weekly basis. That's improving all the time.
And quite interesting that you have three completely different types of horses that Henning bought. His first toe in the water was with a Silvano, a Trippy, and a Karari, and they're all very, very different in terms of the way they come to hand.
Very much so. The Trippy colt is a big, robust, advanced Trippy. He had his first hard hit out on the grass from the pens yesterday, and he did everything correctly. But he's got to where he's got without putting the gun to his head at all. You know, so he's actually, I think he's a very nice horse in the making. Probably only be ready to debut in about 6 weeks' time, but he's certainly heading in the right direction.
Were you shocked when Henning phoned you to ask you to train these horses, when you know full well that Hawam is obviously trained by South Africa's greatest racing ambassador in Mike de Kock, and Eric Sands has got the other two? Was it a surprise for you?
Very much. You know, it came out of the blue. I just got a phone call from him the one afternoon. He inquired about me and wanted to meet up with me, so Roz and I went up to Summerhill, spent the morning with him, which was a great experience. And yeah, it's an honor to have the horses and to have him trust him with me, you know.
And finally, Pete, you know, you've had dealings with horses at the very, very highest level, as far as winks. So I'm going to make the assumption that it doesn't matter whether the horse costs 20,000 Rand or 10 million Rand, that the pressure levels are manageable for you.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, they are all horses. They go through the same issues. They have the same idiosyncrasies. They have the same concerns.
Same lack of self-preservation.
Yeah, very much so. But I've always sort of tried to operate under the adage that I try to treat them all as if they were my own horse, to try and do the best for them long term, to maintain their longevity and to basically to maximise their potential on the racecourse. So I try not to make decisions based on financial implications, and I rather let the horse do the talking as opposed to the other way around.